Hi everybody, it's Susan from Sunrise Quilt Studio, and today's block is called Eddystone Light, and here is the finished block. This one's made with flying geese units mostly and a couple of squares, so not too many techniques to use in here, but still has a lot of pieces. Anyway, I hope you'll stay with me and I'll show you how to make the Eddystone Light block. Okay, here are the pieces we need to make the Eddystone Light block. For A, you will need one 4.5 inch square. For B, you'll need 4 2.5 by 4.5 inch rectangles. C is 8 2.5 inch squares. D is 16 2.5 inch squares. E is 8 2.5 by 4.5 inch rectangles, and F is 8 2.5 inch rectangles. And you'll need to draw diagonal lines on the wrong side of the D squares and the F squares. So I'll adjust the camera and we'll get started making Eddystone Light. Okay, when you look at the picture of the Eddystone Light block, it looks pretty complicated, but basically all we're doing is making flying geese units and then sewing them together to some squares. So we've got two different sets of flying geese units. We have the B and the F pieces will go together, and then the E and the D. So we've got one where the geese is a background and the other one where a print is the geese. So we're going to start with the B and the F. And we're going to sew one of these squares to each corner, and I've already drawn the lines on the wrong side here, and they're going to go, the lines are going to go from this top center to the bottom right hand corner, and I'm going to sew all 4 squares this way, and I'm going to sew directly on that drawn line, trim off the outer corner and press it open, and then sew the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and do one all the way through, and then I'm going to chain piece all of the rest together. Okay, so here is the first step, and then let me trim off this outer corner, and then I'll press this open and we will have that. So here we have that part. I'm going to set this aside for a leader and ender later on. Take another F square and place it on the opposite side. That drawn line goes from the top middle to the bottom left hand corner, and I'm going to sew right on that drawn line. Okay, let me trim this off. Okay, and I'll press this open, and then we'll have the flying geese unit. And here you go. That music in the background is courtesy of the ice cream man. He is got a truck outside. Okay, so I'm going to finish all of the rest of the B and the F flying geese units, and then I'll go to the D and the E flying geese units. So these I'm going to chain together by sewing all of the right sides, and then trimming and pressing, and then I'll sew the left sides. Okay, so here's all 4 of those flying geese units. So now I need to work on the D and the E flying geese units. And the D fabrics that I chose are directional. You can see they've got an elongated diamond, so that makes them directional. If I turn them this way, the diamond looks different. So what I did when I drew the lines on the back side, I drew them in 2 different directions, and that should help me get the direction of these fabrics in the right orientation. So when I fold this one over like here, and then take one that's folded in the opposite direction, or drawn in the opposite direction, put it here, then they face the same direction. So I just have to remember which ones go where. Okay, I have all the pieces that I need to put the block together now. So we're going to start with the center piece, which is the A piece. And what we're going to do is to make a star. And we're going to take the B and the F flying geese units, and they're going to go around like this. So you're going to have the background facing the center. And then these pieces here will be C squares. Now, all my fabrics are directional in this block, which is not the easiest way to make this block, but you know, I was down to the last couple of pieces of fabric in the layer cake, so I didn't have a whole lot of choice. So I am just going to line these all up with what this center square is doing here. And of course, you know, when this gets turned, you know, then it can be horizontal. But I don't want them going in opposite directions, but you can certainly do that. It will give the block more movement. So it's up to you how you want to do that. But I think I'm going to do this. Okay, so the first thing on this block is to sew all of this together. So we've got 9 pieces to sew together, sew them in rows, and then sew the rows together. And then we're going to do the outer rows, and that will be 2 flying geese units that will go like this. I'm just barely able to get all of this in. Okay, and then the other C squares will go in the corners, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to orient them the same way I did these C squares. So here we go. So that's what the block is going to look like when it's done. But first thing I'm going to do, and what I will do is also these pieces here together, these rows will all go, this will be one row and these will be side rows. But first thing I'm going to do is to sew this section together. So I'll sew the first 2 pieces of each row together, add the 3rd row, press everything, and then sew all 3 rows together. Then I'm going to sew all of these rows and then add them. I'll add the side pieces first, then the top and the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with the center of the block. And you'll notice this makes a sawtooth star. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust the camera and we'll get started sewing. Okay, here's the top row, and yeah, it goes this way. And the center seam here, I press that open just to help alleviate some of the bulk in the back. Okay, so I'm going to do that to the bottom row. Sew it the same way, and then the side rows are 2 flying geese units that get sewn together. So I'm going to nest that seam the best I can. Okay, and there is the side row. So I'm going to finish the last 2 sections, and then we'll sew all the rows together to make the block. Now I need to sew the side pieces onto the side of the center unit. Okay, here is the completed Eddystone Light block, and I think it turned out pretty well. There's a lot of points here on these last couple of rows, especially, well, right in here where all your flying geese come in on all of these sections. So you might have to work at that, and otherwise I think it was actually fairly simple. I mean, the piecing is just flying geese units and squares, so that's all there is to this block. So I hope you will give this block a try. Okay, that is it for the Eddystone Light block. So it turned out really well. It's a pretty block, so I hope you'll give this one a try. If you like this video, please click that like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and click that notification bell so you'll be notified when the next video comes up. And in the meantime, I hope you're all staying safe and healthy, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. For more quilting ideas, click on the video links, and to keep up with my latest projects, click on the subscribe button. I hope to see you again soon.